Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Caleb Perez Show. College football just wrapped up yesterday. We have NFL coming up this weekend. Big news, big headlines, amazing games. Couple of duds for the playoffs, the college football playoffs. But we also had a couple really good ones in there. So, here we go. This episode, we're going to break down what happened in every college football game. We're going to break down the NFL games coming up for Saturday and Sunday. My predictions for those games as well. Couple big names entering the transfer portal for college football. James People of Ohio State and recently Max Klein, the tight end at Michigan. Obviously, there have been a big news report talking about how Lane Kiffin could decide which Ole Miss staff are allowed to coach in the semifinals. Obviously, with big Ole Miss's big win over the Georgia Bulldogs yesterday going into the semifinals, they will play Miami. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, apparently, he has the right to decide what members of Ole Miss's staff are actually allowed to coach that game. That's some big news. Obviously, we will talk about that later when more details about that term come up. But this episode, main focus, we're going to break down what happened in every college football playoff game in the quarterfinals. Once again, it was another rough year for the first round byes. 3 of the 4 ended up losing. Obviously, 1 did, and it was a very convincing one for that team. We'll get there in a second, and afterwards, we're going to move over to the NFL. We're going to break down what's going to happen in every NFL game this weekend. I'm going to stick more to the games that truly matter. There's some games that don't really matter because they're between 2 teams who've been out of it, or teams that have punched their tickets and are just simply just playing to get there. So, we'll see. We will break those games down a little bit. But first, let's talk about the college football playoffs and what transpired over the weekend. And in a future day, I will break down my playoff predictions for the semifinals. Starting off with the first game on New Year's Eve, the Ohio State Buckeyes took on the Miami Hurricanes at AT&T Stadium in Dallas at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Miami pulled off the upset, 24-14 victory over the Buckeyes. Big game for Miami. What a game for Mark Fletcher again. He shined against Texas A&M. He once again shined last week at 115 yards on the ground with a touchdown, averaging 4.7 a carry. Overall, though, looking at Miami's stats across the board, they don't exactly scream at you. Just simply put, for Miami, they played good enough to win. And Ohio State spent most of the game just tripping over themselves. Whether it's the pick 6 right after that 50-yard gain to Jeremiah Smith, the interception at the end of the game, the offense's inability to get going in the first half, Jaden Fielding missing yet another field goal. And then obviously allowing the dagger of a touchdown with just a minute left in the fourth quarter. I'll give credit to Miami. Miami's defense played big. Julian Sand looked as uncomfortable as I have ever seen him in his college career. And because of that, he made those 2 crucial mistakes, those 2 interceptions, obviously one on the last drive. On the last drive of the game, and that pick 6 he threw in the first half, which took away all the momentum Ohio State had gotten out of that 50-yard gain to Jeremiah Smith on the previous play. But yeah, it was just mistakes all game long. Terrible play calling from Ryan Day. Could not get anything going on 3rd and 4th down. Run game was really inefficient. And now, obviously, Ohio State, who many people thought would go back-to-back with national championships, they fall in the quarterfinals at the time of the game coming to an end, and assured that teams with first-round byes in the new 12-team formats were 0 for 5. A credit to Miami. Their defense stepped up in a really big way. Mark Fletcher played great for them on offense. And outside of that, they did just enough to beat the Buckeyes, hold on a 24-14 victory. And Miami is off to the semifinals, the biggest win of their program in over a decade. Moving on to the first game of the New Year's Day slate on noon. At noon, it was Oregon and the Texas Tech Raiders. Oregon takes down Texas Tech 23-0. At the time this game ended, it was now 0 for 6 for teams with first-round byes. And as far as Texas Tech goes, it was the first time since 2016 that a team in the playoffs had been shut out, going back to when Ohio State was blanked against Clemson 31-0 a few years ago. But I will give Texas Tech credit. This game was a lot closer throughout than what the final score suggests. It was only 6-0 at halftime, by the way. But to simply put, Oregon's offense, they didn't play that well. Dante Moore had an interception. Oregon turned the ball over a few times. It wasn't the greatest display on offense for Oregon, but they were at least able to score. Texas Tech's defense played a phenomenal game, and they tried to keep them in that game for as long as they could. But simply put, Texas Tech did not do anything on offense. Even more crucial turnovers than what Oregon had. Their quarterback, Morton, played the worst game of his career, numbers-wise. And thanks to that, Texas Tech's offense never scored, despite a couple of really good drives they had going their way, constantly ended by mistakes and self-inflicted wounds for Texas Tech. And again, I will give Texas Tech credit. This game was a lot closer than what the final score suggested. Obviously, it was only 6-0 at halftime. It was 6-0 at halftime, 13-0 at the end of the third, and obviously the game ends 23-0. Oregon able to get the offense going in the second half. Texas Tech did not, and obviously, it really does look like. I saw someone on Twitter say Texas Tech left the offense in 2025. They played like it. This was for a team that had just scored 34 points in the Big 12 championship game and had an offense that dominated all year long. This was a really bad display on the offensive side of the ball, but kind of like Miami yesterday, Oregon survives just by being able to move the ball forward most times than not, and Oregon is able to take down Texas Tech and advance to the semifinals, where they play the winner of the next game I'm about to discuss. The Rose Bowl at 4 o'clock yesterday. It was Alabama and Indiana. And what a game for Indiana. What a terrible game for Alabama. 38-3 is the final score. At least while Texas Tech didn't score, at least they kept it close for a while. This game was an ass-beating start to finish. Truly belt to ass. Delivered by Indiana to the Crimson Tide. And like I said in my prediction video, my choice for the game was going to come down to whether or not Alabama was going to be able to get the offense going. There was that stint in the middle of the season where Alabama had won 5 straight games against a ranked team, and they looked really, really good on the offensive side of the ball. And they had the game against Florida State, and how they've been playing near the end of the season, where they just could not get the offense going. And simply put, Bama's offense did not get going at all. So bad that Ty Simpson ended up getting benched for Austin Mack, I believe that's his name. Yes, for Austin Mack, the freshman, who came in and still put up better stats than Ty Simpson did. I really don't know how to describe this game other than this. It was a pure ass-beating start to finish. But credit to Indiana, credit to Curt Cignetti. I feel like even after the Ohio State win, I think some people still question whether or not Indiana was truly legit. This solidifies it. Indiana is truly legit. Fernando Mendoza had a phenomenal game. 14 of 16 in the air for 192 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Very efficient through the air. Their running back, Kalen Black, had a really good game as well. 110 yards on the ground with a touchdown. So did Roman Hemby. As well, 89 yards on the ground and a touchdown. 3 Indiana receivers recorded touchdowns throughout the game. Becker, Sarah, and Omar Cooper. And yeah, really a tale of two sides. You had Indiana, who played phenomenal on offense, start to finish, great on the defensive side of the ball, and then you have Alabama, who just really cannot get anything consistent going. Did not look like a good team at all. It looked like an entirely different Alabama team from the one we saw play Oklahoma in Norman just a mere week ago. And as a result of this game, Indiana successfully became the first team with a first-round bye to win their first game in the playoffs, making the record now throughout the 2 postseasons 1-6. So yet another great accomplishment by Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers to destroy Alabama and become the first team with a first-round bye in the new 12-team format to win their first game. But while the first 2 games on Saturday were ass beatings that never really were good, we got to end the game. We got to end the day with one of the best games of college football that I've ever seen. I'm not even joking. It was absolute cinema watching this game. Ole Miss, despite all they've been through, despite Lane Kiffin walking out of the team before the playoffs started, they beat Georgia 39-34, and they advanced to the semifinals for the first time in their history. Wow, I cannot speak enough praise for Trinidad Chambliss after watching that performance by him. 30 of 46 in the air with 362 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He made a couple of great throws on the run. He made a couple of great throws downfield. It was truly special to watch. The receiver, Harrison Wallace III, had a phenomenal game receiving, 9 receptions for 156 and a touchdown. Kwan Lacey had 110 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on 22 carries. And then Dazon Stribling, another Ole Miss receiver, had 7 receptions for 122. But yeah, a great game for that Ole Miss offense. And to do so against the Georgia defense that I had a lot of praise for. It was very impressive for Ole Miss to do what they did. And Georgia didn't play the bad either. Nathan Frazier, great game. 15 carries for 128 on the ground. Gunnar Stockton made all the throws that he needed to throw. Made all the passes that he needed to make. And Georgia's defense made some great plays at times, but at the end of the day, they just weren't able to do enough to get it done. And on that last drive, when Georgia had just tied the game, there was 56 seconds left, but Ole Miss didn't have a timeout. They gave up like a 30 or 40 yard play almost right away that put Ole Miss directly in field goal position. And then they got the field goal. Then they got the safety on the kickoff. For some reason, made them kick it off again, and then they made Georgia run another play. A lot of unnecessary endings to this one. The stage crew had to push the stage onto the field and back off twice before the ending of the game. Kind of weird, but overall, what a game for Ole Miss. I mean, I cannot speak enough praise to how well Ole Miss played. And not just to mention, Ole Miss's kicker, Lucas Canero, 3 for 3 kicking field goals. Obviously 2 for 2 with extra points. That's just given, but 3 for 3 on field goals, 2 55-plus yarders, and then the 47-yard walk-off. Game winner for Ole Miss. It wasn't really a walk-off. There were some plays after that, but it was basically the walk-off. It was the game-deciding play. But let me tell you, in these college football playoffs, we have seen so many guys who put together their argument for being a high draft pick. We've seen plenty of these guys. Might be the only reason Jack Sawyer got drafted as high as he did is because of what he did in the semifinals last year. And many more, obviously, before that. Obviously, I'm blanking on a few. Derrick Henry had a great playoff performance. Had some great playoff performances. Deshaun Watson had some amazing playoff performances. Obviously, what Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson did at LSU were some great playoff performances. But these performances from Trinidad Chambliss and Canero, Ole Miss's kicker, those were 2 performances that might get these guys drafted easily. Chambliss might be a top 5 pick. I wouldn't be surprised if the New York Jets were stepping up to the podium and taking him with 3rd overall pick this year. And Canero, to go 3 for 3 kicking with 2 55-yard plus field goals, including a 47-yard game winner. Those 2 ones from 50 had more than enough weight to be good from 60 or 70 as well. That kid's going to be kicking on Sundays, just as Trinidad Chambliss will be tossing the rock. Will be spinning the football on Sundays as well. But what a game for Ole Miss. Yet again, despite what all they've been through these last few weeks with Lane Kiffin leaving the team, to be able to win this game was huge. Now, obviously, I just talked about the situation with the fact that Lane Kiffin can apparently decide which Ole Miss staff members can actually coach in the semifinal game. Bit weird, but that's just some more drama on top of the shit Sunday it's been for Ole Miss. And despite all this, they've turned this into playoff success where they're going to the semifinals. Ole Miss, despite the fact their head coach walked out of the team, could win the national championship this season. I'm not joking. They could. Obviously, they got to beat Miami next week. Miami's been playing so far pretty good in the postseason. And if you beat Miami, you got to play either Oregon or Indiana. Not an easy win. Not an easy path to the championship for Ole Miss. I'll break in those games down in the future. But what a game. What a way to end off the quarterfinal round of the playoffs and to set up some really good matchups for the semifinals. The semifinal matchups, of course, being Ole Miss versus Miami. I believe they are playing at the Verba Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl will be between Indiana and Oregon. Couple really good games. Obviously, Indiana versus Oregon is a rematch for when they met in Eugene. Indiana obviously took the win in that one. A key factor to that game, just to break that one down a little bit. In the first game, Indiana did a phenomenal job at making Dante Moore feel uncomfortable, making him make a lot of quick decisions, and obviously took that to their advantage. Just that's really how defensively Indiana was able to win that game. They're gonna have to do that again. We saw a little bit from that from Texas Tech. Texas Tech made a lot of great plays to make Dante Moore uncomfortable, and they made a lot of great plays on the defensive side of the ball. So Indiana's gonna have to do that again, and obviously Oregon's gonna figure out how to give Dante that time because he did not look comfortable when he played Indiana. And then obviously for Ole Miss and Miami, it's just simple: keep the momentum going. You've gotten great momentum this postseason. Won your first round games. One more convincing than the other in the case for Ole Miss, but still, won your quarterfinal games against teams that a lot of people thought were gonna smoke you. Like, congratulations to those two, but it's simple: just keep the momentum going. Let Trinidad Shambles toss the rock if you're Ole Miss, and hope if you're Miami, keep Mark Fletcher hot. He has been phenomenal. This red hot, perfect running back for the Hurricanes this postseason. Get those two guys going. That's the key to the game for those two. And defensively, for the other side, stop them. Simply put. But I will break down the semifinal games on a later date, coming up soon, most likely. Semifinals are not too far away. But to get down into the NFL, obviously we have a couple of games tomorrow. And then after tomorrow, the full Sunday slate. There isn't going to be a Monday night game. But playoffs are just around the corner. This is the last week of the regular season for the NFL. It's hard to believe it's already here. If you're a Browns fan like me, season's over. If your team sucks like mine does, your season's coming to an end this week. And obviously, 14 teams, 7 from either side, will begin their journey on the way to a Super Bowl in San Francisco this year. So here are the matchups, a couple of critical matchups on day one that determine the playoff seeds for the NFC. First game is the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 4:30 Eastern. The game is in Tampa Bay. Let me pull up FanDuel real quick so I can see the lines. Now, I personally use FanDuel. Obviously, it's going to be different than other sportsbooks. Gamble responsibly. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I'm just saying. So, let me find the NFL. There we go. All right, so Carolina at Tampa. Bucks are currently favored in the spread by 3.5, favored in the money line at -158, and the over/under is 43.5 points. Now, obviously, the winner of this game's winner could have a lot to do to determine the winner of the NFC South. For Carolina, the name of the game for you is simple. You control your own destiny. You win, and you are in with a 9-8 record. You'll be the only team in the division to finish over 500. And yeah, simply put, win, you're in. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, however, have a tougher path. They do not control their own destiny in a couple of ways. Number one, they have to win this game. That's given. Bucks lose, they're out. If the Bucks win, however, while it does put them in a favorable position, they are not in yet. Thanks to Atlanta having a very good, strong finish to their season, they have made it so even if the Bucks beat Carolina this weekend or tomorrow, they still need to hope that the New Orleans Saints are able to beat the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta on Sunday. If Atlanta wins that game, Carolina is in. If Atlanta loses and Tampa Bay wins, Tampa Bay is in. If Tampa Bay wins but Atlanta wins, Carolina is in. But obviously, if you're Carolina, keep it simple when you're in. Don't worry about what's happening in Atlanta. Do what you can do, and that's win this football game. If you're Tampa Bay, you have to win, and you got to hope to get lucky with the Falcons and Saints game on Sunday. In my opinion, My prediction is going to be the more complicated route. I think Tampa Bay wins this one. They do cover the spread. It's going to be under 43.5. Tampa Bay wins. They cover the spread. However, with how Atlanta's been playing, how they've been able to get every guy going, I do think the Falcons win. And therefore, Carolina makes the playoffs. So again, Tampa Bay beats Carolina, but Atlanta beats the Saints, and therefore, Carolina's in the playoffs. Moving on to the Saturday night game at 8 o'clock p.m., Seattle and San Francisco. This game determines not only the winner of the NFC West, but it also determines the number one seed in the NFC. Huge stakes for both teams, especially for the Niners, because knowing that San Francisco is the host city for the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium, you can not only have home field advantage the whole playoffs with the first round bye, but you can also get to host the Super Bowl at home should you make it. So you legitimately have home field advantage the whole playoffs, playing every playoff game in your home stadium for San Francisco if you can win at home this weekend. Seattle, simple put for them as well. You win, you're the number one seed. You're the winner of the NFC West. Seattle has been playing really good, but this Niners offense has been red hot. They've played motivated all season despite what they've gone through. And now here they are in a position to secure the number one seed. So right now, Seattle on FanDuel is favored by 2.5 points. The money line favors Seattle as well at minus 130. The over-under for the game is 47.5 points. My prediction, it's going to come down to the defensive side of the football. And right now, Seattle is a lot more healthy than San Francisco is on defense. Kudos to San Fran for working this hard to get here, but right now, Seattle is healthier. They're going to play like the healthier team. And I think Jackson Smith and Jigba will be the difference maker. I'm going to go Seattle. Cover the spread as well. It'll be over 47.5 points, that's for sure. But Seattle wins the game. Seattle takes the number one seed. First game to talk about on the Sunday slate is the Saints against the Falcons. I already talked about this game a little bit. I think the Falcons win. The spread's 3.5. They cover. Falcons take the money line as well. Over under is 44.5. I'm gonna go with the under. Go with the under on that. Next game, this one doesn't really matter a whole bunch. I'll go simply over this one. Jaguars versus Titans. Titans are playing for nothing. I believe Jacksonville, they're kind of in contention for the number one seed. They need a lot of luck to get it, though. They're favored by 12.5, a minus 850 on the money line, and the over-under is 47.5. Give me the over. Jags win. Jags cover the spread. Simply put. This one doesn't really matter as well as Colts versus Texans. Texans are in the playoffs. I believe they're already fixed into their seed. And then obviously the Colts, they've been dead for weeks. Spread's 10.5 in favor of the Texans. Texans are favored in the money line as well at minus 550, and the over-under is 38.5. I'm going to go under. Texans offense has kind of struggled at times over the year, but their defense has been absolutely phenomenal. It's honestly been super fun to watch how this Texans defense has absolutely wrecked opposing teams. So Texans wins, cover the spread. It'll be under 38.5. Browns versus Bengals. This one doesn't matter, so I'm just going to say the winner. I think the Bengals win easily. Garrett does get the sack record, though. Bengals O-line's not good. Garrett gets a sack record easily, but Bengals win. Packers versus Vikings. This one doesn't really matter as well. I believe Green Bay is just locked in the 7th seed. Vikings are out of the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Vikings at home on this one, just for the fact that I believe that since Green Bay is already fixed into their exact playoff spot, that they're just going to rest their guys. At least looking on the fact that they're currently favored to lose the game quite heavily. But yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota. Cowboys versus Giants, another one game. Doesn't really matter. Both teams have been out of the playoffs for a while. I'm going to go with the Cowboys going to New York and beat the Giants. Eagles versus Commanders. Could be a decent game. I believe they said Hurts is not going to be playing. They're going to rest Jalen Hurts, so could go either way for this one, really. But I am going to go with the Eagles, get the job done at home. Take the under, though. Great defense, but Eagles win. This game matters quite heavily actually. Dolphins and Patriots. Patriots are still alive for the number one seed. I believe both teams are going to be resting their starters. Heard Will Campbell could be back for the Patriots. It's a big one. Not really thinking that the Patriots are going to start their starters for a while. I think they're just going to go until they can see whether or not they can get the number one seed. And then obviously, if there's any point where the Patriots realize that number one seed's out of it, they're going to rest their starters, take everybody out, get ready to rest it up. Dolphins rolling everybody who's healthy. I'm going to go with the Patriots on this one because they have to win this game to keep the number one seed alive. Just to go over everything on FanDuel real quick. Spread favors the Patriots by 11.5. Money line favors the Pats at minus 650. Over under is 45.5. I'm going to go with the over on this one. And then Patriots cover on Patriots win. Lions versus Bears. This one doesn't matter a whole lot, but I do believe if the Bears lose and the Eagles win, then they'll swap seeds. So rather than Bears being 2 and Eagles 3, it'll be Eagles 2, Bears 3. So kind of matters. Kind of. They both have first round, but they both have home playoff games regardless. But I'm going to say for this one. No, who am I kidding? Bears are going to win. Bears are favored by 3 points for the spread. Moneyline favors the Bears at minus 158. Over under is 50.5. I'm going to go with the under just for the fact that the Lions offense has been really, really cold. Plus, I won't be surprised if at any point during the game the Bears just take everybody out and rest them up for the playoffs. Bears win. Bears cover the spread, and it'll be under the 50.5. Here is probably the big one for Sunday, coming at 4:26. We're moving in the afternoon slate now. Chargers versus Broncos. Broncos are currently favored by 12.5 points. Favor the money line at minus 900. Over under is 37.5. If you're wondering why it's such a big spread, the Chargers, I believe, are resting everybody. Herbert, I know, is resting for sure. Meanwhile, the Broncos, I believe, will start everybody because they still have to fight for the number one seed. So I'm not going to go to the full 12.5. I'm going to say Chargers cover the spread. However, the Broncos win the game. And then I like the 37.5. I'm like under the 37.5. Broncos offense doesn't score a whole lot, but they score just enough to get the job done. And then the Chargers are resting Herbert. So Chargers cover the spread, but the Broncos win. And it's under 37.5. Next one, Rams versus Cardinals. Doesn't really matter, but Rams are good. The Cardinals are not. Give me the Rams. Chiefs versus Raiders again. Doesn't really matter other than if you're watching the race for the number one overall pick. Raiders lose, they secure it. If the Raiders win and the Giants lose, I think the Giants secure it. Not positive, but yeah, the Raiders are absolute shite, and the Chiefs, while they are having a shite season, are much better. This could be the last time we ever see Travis Kelce on the football field. If it is, congratulations on the career, buddy. Thank you for changing football in so many positive ways. We'll most likely see your name in Canton one day. But Travis Kelce legacy game. Chiefs beat the Raiders. Raiders secure the number one pick. Second to last game to go over is Bills and Jets. This one doesn't really matter, I don't think. I believe Bills are fixed in their playoff spot. And then the Jets are just beyond dead. I'm going to go with the Bills on this one. Too much talent in New York is just trying to lose as many games as possible at this point. Maybe they can pass the Giants if the Giants somehow beat the Cowboys, but I'm going to say Bills beat the Jets. They win easily. Now, obviously, the final game of the NFL regular season, the Sunday night football game at an 8:21 p.m. kickoff, according to this on FanDuel. Or at least the coverage starts at 8:20. Ravens versus Steelers. The last playoff spot in the AFC. Name of the game is simple. Win the playoffs, win the game, you host a home playoff game, your coach most likely survives another year. You lose this game, you're out of the playoffs. Most likely a lot of things will change this offseason. Lots at stake here. A lot of people think this might be Aaron Rodgers' last season, so if the Steelers lose, this could be his last game. If the Ravens lose and the Steelers make it, there's a good chance the John Harbaugh era comes to an end in Baltimore. And knowing how Baltimore playoff success has been lately, maybe they make some big changes to the roster as well. Same thing for the Steelers. I believe the fire Mike Tomlin chants have been louder this season than they ever have before. Here they are at the last game of the season. Fans have wanting Tomlin gone for a while now. Team is getting much older. They haven't won a playoff game since 2017. Steelers lose this game. There's a good chance Rodgers retires and that this will be his last game in the NFL. Most likely heads will roll. Tomlin might get fired. They might fire the general manager. There could be a complete overhaul. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, because the Steelers team hasn't had that consistent of success in a while. Here's what FanDuel says. Ravens are favorited in both the spread and the money line. Spread likes the Ravens by 3.5. Money line also likes the Ravens at minus 194. The over-under is 41.5 points. So despite the fact that the Steelers steamrolled the Ravens not that long ago in Baltimore, Baltimore is favored to win this game. This to me really does look like someone knows something type of game. Because how the hell are the Ravens favorite when they got destroyed by Pittsburgh in Baltimore and now this game is in Pittsburgh? Someone knows something. His name is Derrick Henry. He rushed for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. Steelers are coming off of one of their worst performances of the season against Cleveland. Couldn't even score a touchdown. Boswell missed some kicks. That being said, I don't see a way where Aaron Rodgers does not pull it together to win what could very well be the final game of his regular season NFL career. Steelers cover the spread. Steelers won the game. Over 41.5 points. Steelers are in. Steelers host the home playoff game at Acrisure. Ravens are out. John Harbaugh gets fired on Monday. And just like that, those are my predictions. Those are my takes on what's going to happen this weekend in the NFL, as well as what we've gone over covering what happened in the quarterfinal round of the college football playoffs. Now, obviously, we have a long way to go. Playoffs start next weekend. It's going to be a great time. The college football playoff semifinals are right around the corner. 2 games to determine who plays each other in Miami. There's a chance the Miami Hurricanes play the national championship at their own stadium, just as there's a chance the San Francisco 49ers can host a Super Bowl at their own stadium. Well, obviously they're at their stadiums. They can play the game they can play those big games at their home stadium, which is big. This weekend in the NFL could have a lot to determine what the future of the game looks like. Obviously, I expect Stafford and Drake May to play a bunch. After all, this is each guy's closing argument as to why they should be the MVP this season. There's a really good chance that things will change in Tampa Bay and that Todd Bowles gets fired if the Bucs make the playoffs after this. If the Bucs miss the playoffs after what's been a monumental collapse in the second half. Lots of rumors are swirling about that if Mike McDaniel gets fired in Miami and Cleveland fires Stefanski, that we could see Mike McDaniel come to Cleveland. I've been hearing that rumor recently. And obviously, I just talked about how there's a good chance that either Harbaugh or Tomlin will be getting fired depending on what happens at Acrisure on Sunday night. But we will see that when it comes around. So, thank you for watching this episode of the Caleb Perez Show. I'll be inactive this weekend because I'll be watching football. Obviously the transfer portal just opened, so on Monday I will go over some transfer portal news most likely, and talk about WWE a little bit. I've been meaning to make a WWE video talking about how their last 2 big events were disasters, but we will get to that in the future. Until then, let's enjoy the last regular season games this weekend. It's sad the NFL regular season's already coming to an end. That only means the greatest games of the year are just around the corner for both college football and the NFL. So let's enjoy some football, y'all. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.